we're working on the Tahoe PUD, is going to be driving in our jurisdiction.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have any comments from the audience on non-agenda items? Again, no big rush to the podium. Okay, as far as corrections to the agenda consent calendar, I'm going to go first on this. I'm going to add an item for closed session. And it is under the heading of pursuant to Government Code Section 54957B1. Consider the appointment of a public employee. We had something come up in the process since the agenda was published. So I want to add this on to, for us to consider adding this to the closed session. It will require a 4/5 vote because it comes at a late time. Is there anything I want to add to that?
Yeah, and as I understand it, it came up after the agenda was posted, and
right.
We need to address it immediately.
Okay, so that's my addition. Does anybody else got any corrections or the agenda consent calendar?
So I will move pursuant to government code.
No, we're not there.
I was saying,
That's got to be. So I'm not hearing any other corrections to the agenda consent calendar. So I will move we adopt the agenda and consent calendar with the addition and with the aforementioned addition.
Second.
I could have said that.
Okay, that passes 5-0. All right, so at this time, I guess we'll vote on if this is going to be into closed session or not. So once again, pursuant to Government Code Section 54957B1, consider the appointment of a public employee. We'd like to add this to the closed session agenda because an item that came up after the agenda was published. So I'll make a motion. I'll call my motion.
I'll second that.
Okay, 5-0, so we got to report this. Thank you all. Item 6A, we're buying another truck.
Different truck.
Hi, all doing. Yes, this is, I'm trying to upgrade some of the fleet. The pump runs has been using pickup trucks and a flatbed for all their major services at the outlying pump stations. The flatbed was kind of put pretty much together by everybody here. And it's got a small 1,500-pound crane, which is a manually operated crane. It doesn't have any safety features on it. It's been overloaded a few times. The stabilizer on it's a trailer deck. What I'm proposing is to upgrade this to a mechanics type truck that is a utility bed truck. It's got a workbench, a tight bed on the back where you can work on it, a vise and everything else. It's got a place to put acetylene torches that are inside and locked up, they're secured and safe, plus a welder and everything else. They'll be able to keep all their tools on this truck instead of at the shop. As they work now, if they got a job out at one of the pump stations or anything like that, they have to guess what tools they're going to need and take them out there. And 9 times out of 10, they'll be going back in and getting tools. So this way, the truck will be able to be stocked up with the tools for the water and for the sewer side, so we don't cross-contaminate anything or tools on anything else, and be able to have a professional fabrication truck to where they can just take it out to the job, use it, get the job done. We haven't had one of these trucks in our fleet before. This isn't a new type of vehicle. It's just, they never really thought of it, I guess you would say.
But you are considering it a replacement to the
It's a
2003
replacement.
450.
Correct, and I'm going to repurpose that one actually probably down to Alpine County. That'll be a perfect ranch truck down there, with the flatbed and everything, and I'll run out the useful life as far as the ARB will allow us.
I was going to see an increase in efficiency from this truck, don't you?
I do, because with the larger crane boom setup on it, we're going to a lot of submersible type wells or pump stations and whatnot. And instead of taking our large crane truck out, that is hard to get into some of these places because of the size, this will be able to remove the pumps, to service them all in one shot. One truck instead of mobilizing more than one.
I'm for it, but I've been campaigning, standing out, handing out things, because people need to know. I was surprised. A guy named AD-HOC, he said I should use his name. He says, I read your guys' agendas, and every 2 weeks you're buying another truck. He says, don't think we're not seeing that. He says, don't tell us you guys are poor. And then 2 other people mentioned, well, you guys buy a lot of equipment. I don't think anybody read those things. So you might want to slow it down a little bit.
Well, that being said, I look at that 2003,
We know
we're
that
talking
we need
15 years old.
We know we need them.
And
And they said we can't use it.
most people don't keep their personal cars for that length of time, although I'm driving an 18-year-old truck.
And the hand boom is dangerous.
Yes, it's you have to physically move it for the swing, and you have to physically lift the boom arm, and make sure you have it in the right position. The winch itself is just a 12-volt electric winch. This is all hydraulic, it's all safety. All the safeties are on it, so you can't overload it. You can't overreach what you're trying to get without a safety going off and stopping it.
So I just wanted to tell everybody, our public's watching what we do and spend.
I'd be glad to talk to them and explain the
And Chad,
situation.
you can take that $100,000 off the billion now.
And Cliff, correct me if I'm wrong, your capital plan, if I recall correctly, you've got vehicles in the near term, but really in your out years, you're replacing stuff that needs to be replaced now, but that you don't really have, in your out years, you're not budgeting for a bunch of replacements in the future. So we
I've seen
have a bit of a
the
wave.
schedule. I just thought I'd say what the public told me.
No, that's fine, and I understand
You work
that.
for them and,
I understand that.
I didn't think
That's
you
not a problem. I don't replace vehicles that are just because they're old. I replace vehicles because they're getting towards the end of the lifetime. This truck isn't towards the end of the lifetime.
I know you and trust you, that's my problem. That's probably why they say.
Well, I'm sorry about that. But,
Wallace will work for it. But
this truck isn't near its lifetime. The problem is, we're being forced by California.
But this one's on 2023.
This one's got 2023, and I'm trying not to wait until the very last minute, and we have a whole lot of trucks that we just got
Yeah.
to just jumble up and get rid of. I'm trying to do this a little at a time.
of the years I've seen the replacement schedule, I get it. It just has seemed lately where,
Well, you're correct, I am. I have been ramrodding a lot of stuff where, it's nothing, it's just things that are in the budget, and everything's budgeted for, it's nothing. I'll slow down.
he's been signing off on it, he's been signing off on it, so. I just wanted to tell everybody what I heard, and I was a little surprised that.
I had budgeted this truck for, I believe it was $48,000. That's because it was a flatbed. And then we got talking what was gonna work better for them. This truck here will last us way farther than I'm here. And taking good care of it and everything, we can take the bed off and put another truck down the road.
And it's a safety issue.
It is a safety issue in the long run.
Okay. If there's nothing else, let's get a motion.
I move that we approve the purchase of a 2019 Ford F-550 with a mechanic's work bed equipped with a 7,500-pound capacity crane from the National Auto Fleet Group in conjunction with Sourcewell, formerly NJPA, contract number 120716-NAF, in the estimated amount of $112,137.22. Second.
You were on the edge of your seat, right?
Thank you. I'll hold off till next year on any more
No,
purchases.
no, I'm not doing that, I just was.
No, I understand.
I pass
You
along
know,
what
and I've talked to people out in the public too, that, you know, you guys have all these nice new trucks, and I explained to them the reason why. You know, I'm driving a 98 truck. It's
Yeah,
got surplus three tons.
I don't think this last batch of trucks we've had one that was newer than 15 years old, I don't think.
No.
And I'd rather have the truck last me 30 years than pay.
Well, I would too.
Than pay for a consultant usually.
It's like Richard's old truck, it's got 280,000 on it now, and it still runs. It's been a great truck, so why get rid of it? It's a backup if we need it.
Thank you. Okay, it's good. David claims.
I'll move approval of payment of claims in the amount of $1,483,138.75.
Second. Okay, another unanimous passing. This is on standing and ad hoc committee reports. I guess I'll go first. Dwayne and Richard and I today met with city folks who consisted of Wendy David. And yeah, I know, singular. I think the main thing Wendy wanted to talk about is they do have a kind of a 3-year forecast, I think is what, more or less what she called it. It wasn't actually planned. They are going to be doing a fair amount of road work, and so they wanted to make sure we coordinated with them to see if there were any projects that we could get together and work on it that would get their little bang for the buck on their paving. That was probably the main thing I took out of this. Dwayne, we talked about a couple other, we brought up the FAA deal with the fact that they're expanding their I don't know what the name of that. It's an overlay. Yeah, that overlay. They're expanding that overlay. She didn't know much about it, but she's gonna have the airport manager look into it, and we're gonna look to see if it adversely affects either us or the city.
Sewer units.
Yeah, they got a deal going on with the campground right there, the 56-acre project. And they need to upgrade the bathrooms, put in more toilets, more showers and all that kind of stuff. But it's a recreation item, so they've already been informed by Shannon that they are going to be charged capacity charges because of the recreation mandate that we have in our initial charter.
It's the Future Connections Plan, EIR, final EIR mitigation program.
I stand corrected.
Yeah. So it was formulated in 1996.
Okay.
And carried forward since then.
So they've got some infrastructure issues. We don't know about their actual sewer hookups. They'll probably need to put some lines. They're actually talking about winterizing a certain portion of the campground because I guess winter glamping is becoming popular. So if you don't know what that is, Urban Dictionary, I'll write that for you. Anything else, Dwayne?
We asked them to make sure that they receive the sewer units from the purchase of Super 8.
Yes, I think they already have,
It was the 910.
Yeah, that's right. That was what it was at the end.
because I think Tim's already got the phone call on, so.
Jim, you already got a phone call on that? About the bank sewer units that the city has.
No.
Look at it, we got him out of his chair.
I can't believe it.
You don't know the shenanigans of
Okay, here's the story.
Want to finish that copy first?
Might be here a while. Back when the city sold that plot to the developer, according to our admin code, once you sell, the sewer units go with the sale of the property. Right after we sold the property to the developer, I get a call from Jim Marino at the city saying, we want those sewer units. And I said, the deal's already closed. The sewer units belongs to the owner now. If you wanted to do this, then you should have came forward beforehand and we could have probably worked something out. So then he wanted to transfer the water capacity off that lot, and I said, according to admin code, you can't do that. You can't transfer water capacity. That goes with the ownership of the property too. So there was Dwayne had asked me earlier how many sewer units were on there, and there was 153 sewer units with that Night Inn or whatever used to be there. And right now, with the Wholesale Foods project, I think they've used roughly about 80 of them. That's right, the Wholesale Foods, there's the Chase Bank, and a couple of restaurants that we've gone in right now. So, long story short, they waited till after the fact, after the property was sold, before they asked for the sewer units. And I can't violate the admin code by saying, okay, I'll give them to you.
And I don't even know if you could, if you wanted to, because if they transferred with the sale, then it's not, we couldn't just take them, they're owned by somebody else.
Yeah.
If they already use 80 of them, why don't they buy 80 more?
Well, I guess what the city would want to do is negotiate with the owner and try to get them to donate the 80 to
You mean the other 75?
or, yeah,
The unused portion.
yeah, the unused portion to low-income housing or workforce housing, whatever we're calling it.
Right.
Or not?
I'm glad I asked. It could be a whole project, you know, but
Well, yeah.
So, but I mean,
So basically, they should have, hindsight 2020, I'm not gonna throw them under the bus on this. There's a lot going on that, and they probably didn't consider it, but that needed to be actually in the sales contract, that the sewer units were not included with that.
correct.
Sewer units are no access sewer units.
They are, whatever, or any unused sewer units are to be returned to the city, however they would want to word it.
Then I would have
legally.
used my exception today.
Right.
Do that, yes.
well, maybe they can work something out.
Yeah, that's what we'll have.
Okay, thank you, sir. That was pretty quick. We talked about that this morning, and there, look at Tim. He's all over.
Well, I realize it's important.
Yeah.
Workforce housing is a big issue for everybody around town, so.
Okay, what do you think, Richard? We covered it all pretty much?
Yeah, as far as staff's benefit, we did ask that we need a better emergency response plan to get into the airport. Just not having a cell phone number for the airport manager was quite enough, we thought. So maybe tied into the 24-hour, fire or police or somebody. And so we should be with that introduction. Hopefully, I think the airport manager should be responsive to working with us to create some emergency response plan for us. People get out to the airport if we need to for our water and sewer that are out there.
And Wendy did mention that she would be open to giving us a gate key.
If they don't,
So our,
they have a password type gate keys. I'm not sure if we do right now, but it seems like we should.
They're issuing new gate keys next month to everybody anyway.
I was expecting money.
Supposedly you get new ones, right?
But of course, at the same time, we're not going to direct staff to go out there without authorization, because we don't need to clean land in them.
Right. You would not be able to go anywhere near the flight operation without contact.
Yeah.
Okay, any other ad hoc?
Well, we have the standing operations, we had operations meeting on Monday. You all should have gotten a copy of the report. The one thing we had a very long discussion on was on page 4, is about the plant operations that had an upset, biological process out there.
Yeah, I read that there was a bug problems.
And Jeff gave us education. It was like flashbacks to grad school and about the biological processes and treatment, and it's very interesting. But they've done a lot of different things that they've got to handle what the problem is. So the type of thing you never really know what caused it, but it's a real problem recently. I suggest that maybe someday come in here and maybe explain a little better the rest of it in simple terms as far as what the biological processes are, treatment, activated sludge. I thought it would be like a 25 page PowerPoint with laboratory pictures of the various microbes that are in the activated sludge.
He's going to give an evil on how to structure it.
But I think it's just something that we've been having problems with the operation. Been able to solve it.
I didn't know he was that smart.
Yeah, you're right, it's scientific problems, copying all of this, because it was got a little neat. Didn't understand a lot of it.
And Jeff is in the back of the room if you do have any questions.
We do that someday, Jeff, come in, get a little education on operations.
Pardon me?
Can you do that sometime?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I was thinking we could even do another tour.
Sure.
You guys want to take a walk and check it out?
The operational stuff, and pictures of bugs, and what they mean. Sure.
Okay, thanks, Jim. Board member reports. Oh, we already had a talk around. Oh, that's right, I'm like, was this week? We had a lot going on this week.
Session, we weren't early.
So we can report on it, unless you want the short version, I'll do it if you want the long version.
Go ahead. Well,
Go ahead, Blaine.
we met with the supervisors from Alpine County. It was our second meeting, and basically their last few grand jury reports have told them that they believe over there that they got not the best deal possible, and that they should have at least an inflationary clause to continue getting more funds from the district. And we disagree. But we decided to try to look to see if there's anything that we can do to help them that doesn't cost us a lot, that they can show that they've gotten something else other than what we normally give them. But some members of their community are asking for a lot of money. And our contract does not state that we have to give them more than what we give them. And frankly, the deal they got was, in our opinion, very good, considering the district was kind of over a barrel, the old term is. In the beginning, they had to put in the pipeline, stated, ordered it, the deadline was looming, and so they had a laundry list that the district filled, and now because I can see their point as residents, they're saying, you're shipping us this product, and it's damaging our community, lowering our property values.
I would dispute that.
And we dispute it greatly, given that we've had no problems whatsoever, we've tested, and that we've really helped them build a fire department, brand new offices and things like that through our funds. they kept all the money for quite a few years, I think 13 years or longer, and then they decided to use it for some of their building and things like that. So we're trying to be as nice as we can and as polite as we can while telling them that we just don't, we feel like they did get a good deal. And that both parties have benefited and that we should not change the deal. And if there's something we can do mutually together to benefit each other, we do that with all our neighbors as best we can, and we would do it with them. You know, there might be things we can do.
And that our next steps is that their county council is going back with their board of supervisors over the next several meetings, and they will be providing us in writing the specific requests that they're asking us for. Then we will have something more concrete than what we have right now that we can then respond to in a positive or negative fashion.
And the next meeting was scheduled for the day before our second board meeting in January. To get back together after an exchange of these initial proposals. We fix this, you know.
Okay. I think now we're finding out of ad hoc committee reports, aren't we? Okay. So how about any board member reports? Do we got anything?
Here's a short one. Shannon gave you something that Paul Schutter had sent regarding an asbestos cement water pipes, and it's got some figures. If anyone wants a copy of this, you get a copy of it. But it's kind of frightening what they're talking about. They're saying the typical cost for replacement is about $1 million per mile. So it's up about $190 per linear foot. So we've got some things to think about. And they're talking about the number of breaks per mile, or well, in this case they talk about 10 breaks for every 100 miles per year. So we've been pretty lucky that our 60-year-old pipes are holding up, because they're talking about 50 years is the life expectancy. So if anybody's interested, you should start it on maybe the report that Shannon's going to give next meeting on sewer.
November 15th is when we're slated for doing a workshop.
Yeah, you talked about it, change it to a workshop.
Yeah. So a lot of information out there. They've done a lot of studies, and realizing that a lot of water districts and sewer districts are starting to encounter a lot of breaks now. I think getting over 50 years. Anyway, no break is ridiculous.
Thanks, Jim. Let's see, that brings us to the El County Water Agency.
We have a meeting last week in Richard and I think John, I was unable to attend the operations committee meeting, but I think John has some information about we're getting close on the MOU. About the report and the next.
Okay, sure. Yeah, we've been working, I've been mentioning this at last board meeting. About 3 months we've been working with the agency and Ken Payne to develop an MOU, a new funding mechanism for our water design and planning projects. So, and by we I mean Lynn and myself, and also Kelly and Richard for, I think, keeping the ball rolling, you know, out there. So we have a draft MOU, and I expect to bring that to the board next month, actually. And this is a new mechanism where, in the past, it was really cumbersome to work with the funding, because it had to coincide with the agency's fiscal year. So they wanted individual projects that you would start, hire a consultant, and end within this 12-month period, and it's just doesn't work very well. So I think what that meant, it was hard to manage and hard to implement, and it made it difficult for us to utilize all of the funds on an annual basis. So we've got this draft MOU, and as part of that will be a project list, and right now we're finishing that project list. There's 7 projects on that list, water planning and design projects, and over the 3-year period, it's a 3-year rolling project list. So over the 3 years, that's about $2 million in project value. And when you add that to the groundwater projects, it's over $2.5 million over the 3-year period in project value, with half that's coming from the water agency, so it's a major source of funding for us. So we want to keep those funds coming in. So there's strings on the money, right? It has to be for design and planning projects, can't be for construction projects. And the agency's component, the agency's funds can only be used for consultants and third-party inspection services. But a few years back, we were able to make a really important change where we can use our own staff time as part of our 50% match of their funds. So that was an important change. And just looking forward, I mean, this is going to pay for, I think, most, if not all of our water side consulting and third-party inspection fee costs. So some of the projects, our fire flow projects, Heavily Tank, Keller Tank, and David Lane and Upper Montgomery booster stations, and then also some of our asset management projects like pressure management, SCADA, and cathodic protection project services. So really looking forward to getting those projects started. Looks like hope to get funded in December and start on these projects in January. And we really appreciate the agency's cooperation in making this, changing this funding mechanism for us. Any questions?
And the only other thing, I wrote a campaign when we were down there to the reprioritization of our ground basin by the state of California. So he had, kind of this concern about this space, so he's going to participate in the phone call we scheduled for Wednesday with the state office in Sacramento. So, concerned enough to make himself available.
He's also going to be in our panel for the interviews with the potential gentleman. I think they're an important partner.
Okay.
Your question.
Okay, we did get a letter that Shannon sent out to our staff from Jeff DeFranco over to Community College, basically complaining about the odors from the treatment plant, if we could do anything about it, and really he's asking us to do something about it, and asking if we can. So we've got a plan of attack, talking in-house, because we've had various ideas float around, some money in the long-range budget for it. So we'll have to pull that together, and then I think we feel like the best thing is to meet with them, probably, in my mind, take them on short plans to at least understand and can at least envision the kinds of issues that we have here. And so, because I think a lot of people probably think we haven't tried to do very much with odor control of the plant. We spend millions of dollars trying to control the odors. We've made significant improvements over the years, over the last 20 some odd years. But and obviously, at wastewater treatment plant, you can always do more. You can always do more to reduce odors. So we'll have to engage in with them in the process. So
we're scheduling an in-house meeting with district staff before we schedule, and then we'll schedule a meeting with the college.
Yeah, I guess from what I understand, the worst time is when the sludge is transferred, right?
And that's really is the question. Actually, it's in my mind for them is when is it bad? I actually would love for them to start tracking that so that we can correlate that to our operations and figure out what it is.
Figure out which operation is the worst, right?
Is it just an atmospheric issue, or is it when those doors open, which is what we think?
And we all know in the winter when we get the temperature inversion, it holds fireplace smoke and also that sort of.
Yeah, I was over there the other night in the evening, and it seemed to be worse than I'd smelled in quite a while. I think the cold air and the lack of
temperature change,
like you say, is holding it in place.
And that, if it is exclusively from the weather conditions at that time, humidity, etc., that leads us potentially to one type of opportunity or solution. If it is when the doors are open, when we're picking up the biobends, that's a different potential solution. If we're going to do something, we want to make sure it actually addresses the problem. So we're going to talk about it in-house, and then we'll talk with them. I actually have some hope that this will become a kind of long-term opportunity for us to figure out when that odor is an issue, and then so we can tailor the solutions to the actual problem. It's not going to be 100%, and I think based on the tone of the letter, they actually understand that, but.
Yeah, it wasn't too demanding. You got end the odors now.
Yeah. They acknowledge that we've done significant work in the letter, whether the rest of their team understands that or not.
Okay.
I'm sure they're more.
Like Dwayne says, we try to be good neighbors.
Speaking of trying to be good neighbors, then we've had conversations about the Lakeside Park and the water service down in that area. So Andy Engelhardt is the current board president for the Lakeside Park Association. So I put a call into the office there and left a message for him on Tuesday. I haven't heard back from him, but came to talk about the water service. And then the pipeline, the water line that they're beginning to install. Maybe around the week, Gary Mitchell, associate secretary, try to work out a deal between us, the big issue is for any residential construction down there, the developers feel like they need to have the beach passes as a component of leasing or renting out any units down there to make them work and cost effective. So anyway, I'll keep trying to see if we can get a conversation going. It just seems like somebody's spending a lot of money to run a water line that we just agreed to split the water service down there. And we wouldn't have to then run a line to serve this, while us run a line over there to serve that.
They haven't started on the water line yet.
I think I need to run by there. They haven't yet. It was a USA, which you have to wait 48 hours.
So
We need to run by some.
we really need to get going on this, because otherwise it's going to be under construction.
Well, that's why I have a call in. I'll call again tomorrow.
Which property does he run?
Well, I don't know which property, he owns one of the hotels, I don't remember, but the number I had for him is actually the Lakeside Park office, association office, where there's a couple of staff people work. So when I say ask for, he's the board president, they left the message to explain why I was calling. Then I should have explained why.
Well, maybe we call it through the motels to get some of because a lot of them are owner operated, and ask them who he is and what's he run, if we can track him down.
He said his car, but I couldn't find him. Because he was one of the people we met with a couple of years ago with Bruce and they'd come over. Because we never met with their staff. It was always a couple of board members of hotel owners and Bruce and Grego.
I don't think Bruce represents that.
Yeah, you said you asked Bruce and said he had to work for him for a couple of years, so we just didn't bother to call him. I guess we could maybe try to call him and say, hey, could you get Andy to call?
Okay. Andy, what's his Andy? What's that?
Andy Engelhardt.
Okay.
Because he came to the meeting with Bruce.
Okay.
Right, is that it?
That's it.
We'll do that.
Okay, just as we thought we knew everything we needed to know about water meters, we have an update. What a presentation. This is awesome.
So I'm Jessica Henderson. I am the customer service specialist.
I'm Ross Cole, meter technician. Together we make up the meter department. To get this presentation started, we'd like to show you the history of meter reading at the district and kind of how it evolved. If at any point during this presentation you have questions, please feel free to interrupt.
So that last clip on the video you saw is one of the benefits we get from AMI. We now have real-time data at our fingertips, and as you can see, I'm able to just click a couple buttons and I can download meter reads, which has eliminated the need for us to send staff out to get those reads quarterly. Another amazing thing that we've been doing with engineering is a water loss project. So instead of sending Ross out every 2 weeks to obtain meter reads, I'm able to download a report and provide that to engineering. But by far, I would say we have made the biggest impact on customer service. We are now offering Water Smart to our customers, which you guys heard about last meeting from Shelley, and we are getting some amazing feedback. But our hope is that by allowing customers to have access to their hourly meter reads, to set up water use alerts and leak alerts, we're going to be taking the shock out of high quarterly water bills. So on this slide, we thought it would be nice to kind of give you guys an idea of the amount of meters in our system. So as you can see, in 2009, we only had about 1,700 meters. And by the time all of the meter projects are done, we're expecting to have around 15,000. These numbers do all include fire meters as well.
Couple typical maintenance issues that we run into, as you all know, we live in snow country. So with our antennas being on the top of the lids, they get sheared off by snowplows, snow blowers, shovels. So that's part of the challenge, an ongoing challenge. Meter communication issues, pigtail damage, damaged meter pits. Meter pits that were installed in a non-traffic rated situation are becoming traffic rated situations that people run over. Meter failures, and just in the last year we have AMI infrastructure and software maintenance. So for monthly meter maintenance expectations, Census, our meter brand, state that we should expect 1.5% maintenance of total meters installed. So in 2009 we had roughly 25. Probably by the time we get all the meters in, they expect us to see 225. So, however, that looks daunting, but on the bright side, we have experienced less than 1% due to our proactive maintenance approach. So next, we'd like to show you some different meter maintenance scenarios that we encounter. Here's a couple projects that the meter department is currently working on. To your left, one-time projects, for example, meter phase 4 and 5 programming. We expect that to go away, obviously, with all the installations of the meters. On the right, ongoing projects, I'd like to highlight a few meter testing and large meter replacements. So, for example, last year I went and tested the 6-inch water meter that feeds the Marriott. We've deemed it to be failing, so we had our crews underground water help us replace that meter, and we have seen and we have captured double the water usage since that installation. So I feel like that's quite the return on investment.
About that.
I haven't heard yet. They just got their October bill.
Okay.
So I'm sure
Yeah, I imagine you'll have questions.
We marry brothers.
To move into one of our more time-consuming projects, it's the meter replacement project. So if you look at the graph on the left, this is a 10-year projection of all the meters that need to be replaced. We replace them on a 18 to 20-year lifespan. And then if you look to the right, you'll notice in 2029 we have a significant jump, spike in replacements due to one of our largest meter projects in 2010.
Okay, so in summary for you guys, by having the district install water meters and an AMI system, we are now able to meet state mandates. Along with the AMI and water smart systems, we're now able to allow our customers to see that real-time data. Once again, setting up those leak alerts. I'm excited to see how that helps us this winter in case we have those freezing or below freezing temperatures that typically cause broken pipes and severe damage to vacation homes. We are also very excited to announce that by having this AMI system, we estimate this summer we saved over 13 million gallons of water just by being able to identify these leaks in a short amount of time, contacting the customer and having the customer take care of the issue.
I got a couple of questions. Well, one, we were originally told that they were going to be able to read these meters at like throughout the entire service area, 98, 99% of the meters. How is that actually panning out in real life?
Ross and I actually keep a daily meter tower percentage record, and as of this morning, we were at 99.21%.
Okay, and you just pick up the 0.8 whatever and by driving around and get them if you need to?
Currently, what we actually found out on this last meter read is driving around to pick up those last meters that aren't giving us reads isn't working because those are the meters that have an actual issue and they need maintenance.
Okay, so it's not a broadcast issue or a signal issue?
No.
It's something with the meters.
It is. So we're finding a lot of communication issues, meaning there's something going on between the meter and the radio, and Ross has to go out there and investigate and fix that.
Okay, so my second question is that 20-year replacement cycle. We had 29 based on we had a big project in whenever it was. I had my meter installed in 1992, and they came along and replaced it 20 years later. I would have thought in that time period they would have got a little more reliable. Are you still getting just a 20-year life cycle on those?
Yeah, with the new meters, they're now lithium-ion powered, so they have an EOL end of life in 20 years, and it is printed. It's
the power supply.
Yeah, it's printed on the meter, replaced by.
Because in the past they were replaced for the same reason, is they start running too slow and we're giving water away.
Correct, and we've been finding out too is as we approach that 20-year mark, we get a lot of maintenance issues that actually bring out there in the first.
Mechanical handling. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so on the older ones, we're finding the mechanical issues between years 15 and 20. So again, that's what goes on the maintenance list. Those are meters Ross has to replace. Now that we are installing iPearls or smart meters, we aren't seeing so many maintenance issues. However, they've only been in the ground for a couple years. But according to census, the battery is only programmed to go 20 years with the meter sending hourly reads.
So you just replace the battery after 20 years, the whole unit?
You would think, but it has to.
In 20 years, the technology is going to be completely different.
Yeah.
It will be a completely new unit.
So, so my question is information. Like you said, we've been campaigning, and Chris will probably tell you, one of the most questions we get is on meters.
Well, actually, one of the things that's been the great part of the forums is that we've been announcing that you have this smart meter, or, the smart water system. People are really happy about that. We're getting a pretty good reception about it.
I would suggest you let them sign up without having to take a survey.
Okay.
A lot of people don't like surveys.
Yeah, and you can click through it.
What I'm getting is that people without meters are wondering when they're going to get them, and are they being roached because somebody else is actually getting read, and vice versa. I'm surprised, given the, I think, excellent job we've done of trying to get the word out, how many people still have questions regarding that? I don't really know the answer. I think maybe through the smart meter, just keep advertising that maybe, and keep talking about the time frame. We have this many installed, maybe just a bar graph or some, this many more. If you've had a meter, you have 1 year to, if you want to read it, or you can opt to sign up, just kind of keep that out there, I guess, because I think that looks a lot of the questions, and I'm not an expert on everything you've told us, but Chris has done a good job, I think, telling people in the past 10.
That brings up a good point, though. The people that are getting meters could actually use the smart meter system or whatever. What's it called? Smart water?
Water smart.
Water smart. They can actually use that to monitor their usage for that year and know what their bill's going to look like in a year. It's actually kind of a no-brainer, right?
Right. So the way this is working with Water Smart now, customers that received meters this year, in the next month, they'll be receiving a letter from me explaining about the 1-year educational period, giving them access to Water Smart, and then at the very bottom we have a cutoff slip that they can actually opt to be billed immediately on a meter rate if they would like to.
Well, so I had a lady that sent me an email that Tim's aware of, and you guys in customer service. And I went in there because she said, we haven't used any water, we have no toilets, we did, blah, blah, blah. Well, and you guys punch her up and go, well, that's not really the case because, yeah, she has used some water. And anyway, the issue got resolved, and you were able to punch it up immediately and say, oh, yeah, she used some water. And I actually was able to respond to her and say, you're using water.
You guys are doing a good job.
Thank you. It's been one of the most amazing tools to be able to help customers.
Yeah.
When they call and they ask if they still have a leak, in some cases customers have multiple leaks. So they're finding one, repairing it, calling me to see what is still going on in their property.
How many complain about being billed quarterly? That seems to be a thing that I get.
A lot. So with the Water Smart portal being launched, a lot of our customers have been able to complete the survey and add a profile comment. And a lot of those comments are negative about the way we bill. They want to know why it's quarterly. And so I actually plan on being back in January to give you guys the survey results. That survey does end on December 31st.
And that is an issue we are looking into.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
And I follow one thing, when I asked a question about, we get asked by customers when their meter's going to get installed. This is for John and Trevor. On our website, are we reflecting that map of what we're doing? So we've got a map that shows the meters we're going to install next year, and then the following year, the kind of cleanup year, we're reflecting that information. So if you want to refer them directly to our website, they can look up their property and figure that out.
Okay. That's a good thing about the election process is you get to see a lot of people. You guys see them all the time. Okay. Cool. Gary, you have some thoughts?
Just real quickly, the Preston litigation will not be in closed session anymore. The plaintiff has dismissed the district. So, we're out of it.
Good deal.
Yeah.
All right, anything else from staff? Anybody else? Jump in here. Okay, you can see the past and future meetings at this time. Let's go out of open session and into closed session. Does anyone want to do a 5-minute break? Okay, so I'm going to ask you. All right, let's come out of closed session into open session.